Today I'm going to help you make more money by doing less. My name is Devin Tracy. I run Windfall Elite. We've worked with over 1,130 clients to date, and I make these videos to hopefully save you some time. So today what we're going to be talking about is what I call the 5 ones. Now, you've probably heard at some point in your career, you've probably heard people talk about the importance of focus, and they might tell you that focus is an acronym. Maybe you've heard this acronym before. Maybe you know that focus really means follow one course until success. Maybe you've heard that. Maybe you know that focus is following one course until success, and focus is strictly necessary in order to be successful. But maybe you don't know what that looks like. I know that for me, I heard this the very first year that I started my very first business, which was when I was 18. I waited until I was 18 to register the business. But I didn't know what it meant until much, much more recently. And learning this one thing, learning the 5 ones, the way I'm about to show it to you, it is responsible for the reason my business has done more than a 5x jump in the last year. From this time last year to this time this year, my business has increased 5-fold because I finally figured out what focus means and I actually listened to it. So I call it the 5 ones, and this can help you grow your business too. 5 ones. 5 areas of business where you need to be focusing on one thing and one thing only. And splitting focus is the reason why you're not successful yet. Now, there is a point in all of these things where they're no longer true. There's a point of scale where you no longer want one, but you can start adding to these. But in the early days, if you're sub 6 figures, if you're sub 10 grand a month, if you're not doing at least $500,000 a year in revenue, you need to listen to this. As you start growing, you're going to start expanding, but businesses complicate themselves. And the reason that we break it down to 5 ones and focusing on one thing each is because these are the fewest possible moving parts for any business on the client acquisition side. And they are strictly necessary. And it's so hard to get good at any of these that if you start splitting focus and doing multiple things at a time, you're never going to get good enough to win. So this is a matter of prioritization, focusing so that you can get good enough to succeed. So the first one in the 5 ones, the first one is you've heard this a million times, but it is so critically important, especially when you're first starting out. You need one target market. Your target market can't be everybody, because when you think your target market is everybody, the reality is you serve nobody. When it comes to marketing, when it comes to client acquisition, if you're talking to everybody, nobody listens because it's not about them. If you want to succeed in marketing, you need to get really good at figuring out who your client avatar is, who your target market is, who your ideal customer is. Learn everything you possibly can about them so that you can speak to them directly. So this is one target market, and I'll give you the 80-20 of this. The 80-20 of this, while it's best if you can tell me every little thing about your target market, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. And if you can answer 3 of them, you have a target market. The reason for that is psychology. It's called the rule of thirds. People start recognizing patterns as soon as they see 3. So for example, if I give you the numbers 5, 7, you probably don't know what the pattern is. But if I give you the numbers 5, 7, 9, now you probably think the pattern is odd numbers. So it's 5, 7, 9, 11, right? Well, the same is true in everything. As soon as we see 3, we see a pattern. So when it comes to your target market, if you can say 3 things about them, they will believe you're talking about them specifically, and that's all it takes to have really dialed in marketing. So this is the 80-20 target market. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You need to be able to answer 3 of them about your target market. Age, gender, profession, pain or problem, interest. If you can answer 3 of those 5 things, you have a target market. So if I work with 35-year-old male accountants, I have a target market. If I work with 35-year-old men who struggle with XYZ, I have a target market. If I work with 35-year-old men who are into fly fishing, I have a target market. That's what you need. You need 3 of the 5, and then you have a target market. Okay, one target market. The next one is for the target market. We start here because we can't do the rest without this. The next one is you need one offer, one thing that you do, one package. And the ideal here, by the way, the trick here is you want your ideal offer, what you sell, the primary service that you have, you want it to be so good that your target market feels stupid saying no. And you can do this using Alex Hormozi's value equation. If you make an offer following the value equation, let me go over it really quick for you just so that you have this. The value equation looks something like this. This is the equation. Smiley face times percentage sign divided by frowny face times clock equals V for value. Okay? So what is this? What's going on here? There's a lot here. Okay, so this is hopefully easy enough that you can just remember this and have this stuck in your brain. Okay, so the smiley face represents dream outcome, what your target market wants. So if your target market is 35-year-old men who are interested in golf, then what they might want, maybe the dream offer, I know nothing about golf, but maybe it's something like taking a couple strokes off your golf game, right? Maybe if you are in the B2B world, you do something like I do, you run SEO, then maybe what they want, their dream outcome, is more clients, right? So what is the dream outcome? You have to have that included in your offer. Percentage sign is the perceived likelihood of success. How confident are they that they're going to get the outcome? So maybe you know, because you sold your product before, you've done it, you know exactly what you sell. Maybe you know that the actual getting the result is 100% guaranteed. You need them to know that. So we do this by building up social proof, by giving evidences, by giving guarantees, by giving refund policies. All of that stuff is meant to build up this so that people have a higher degree of confidence that they're going to get what they want. This, by the way, everything on the top of the function, you want it to be as big as possible. And everything on the bottom of the function, you want it to be as small as possible, because 1/10 is smaller than 1/2. You want the bottom of fractions to be as small as possible. So this is why, for instance, if two different companies offer the same end result, maybe losing 30 pounds, but one of them does it through fitness and one of them does it through liposuction, this is why liposuction can charge more. Because the perceived likelihood of success is 100%. Where going to a gym, my perceived likelihood of success is very low. I know myself. I know how much work it takes. The bottom of the equation is also part of why liposuction can charge so much more than a gym can. Because on the bottom side of this equation, the frowny face is all of the stuff I have to do with your system to get the dream outcome. So with the gym analogy, with the stuff I have to do, there's a lot. I have to go to the gym regularly. I have to work out. I have to be sore all the time. I have to start paying attention to my diet and counting calories. I don't get to eat what I want. There's a lot of stuff I don't want to do that I have to do for a long period of time. But with liposuction, there's very little that I have to do that I don't want to do. I have to be sore for a couple days. Pretty much it. And I get to stay home from work. Kind of nice. And then lastly, that clock represents time delay. If two offers are identical, but one gets you the result faster, that one's more valuable. So again, with the gym, it's going to take me months and months and months. With liposuction, it's going to take a weekend. All of those reasons are why, even though a gym membership and liposuction sell the same end goal oftentimes, one of them charges $27 a month and the other one charges thousands and thousands of dollars. That differential is based on the value equation. So once you know your target audience, then you can know what their dream outcome is, and then you can craft an offer that makes their dream outcome as big as possible, perceived likelihood of success as big as possible, all the pains they don't want as small as possible, and the time delay as short as possible, and then you can charge as much as possible. That's how you build a dream offer right there, okay? Next, third one that you have to have. If you split focus on this in the early days, you will never succeed. Later, you will want to split focus on this. But for now, you can't afford to. You won't win. This was a hard thing for me to learn. It took me years to learn this, but as soon as I dug my heels in and said, okay, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to be focused on this, suddenly I saw a 5x growth in my business in a single year. Trust me on this. You want count them one marketing channel. And if you're thinking, I'm going to throw 1,000 little hooks in the ocean, I'm just going to see which one works, you're never going to get good enough to make any of them work. Because marketing is incredibly hard. So you have one target market, you have an offer for them, find one place where they are and figure out how to get them out of that place. That's what marketing is. It's getting people to know about your stuff and getting them to take action and move forward. So it's so important here because it is so hard to get good. If you split focus and you try to get good at two different marketing channels at the same time, you won't get good at either. If you're trying to master paid ads, maybe paid Google ads, and at the same time you're trying to master organic Instagram, those take too much time, focus, and energy to get good at. You're not going to be able to in the early days. If you have a large team and you're like funded, like that's different. But I'm talking for those of us who are starting out and you're kind of on your own and you're doing less than $500,000 a year, you need to get good at one marketing channel first. For me, the one that I cracked the code on, I'm really, really good at it, is paid ads. Paid ads on Instagram, and I don't even run paid ads on Google for myself right now, but paid ads on Google was the first one I got good at for myself. But right now I'm finding that I'm doing so much better on Meta that I'm not really doing it on Google right now because I am laser focused on one channel, and I think you should be too. So one marketing channel. Given the time and the length of this and how much there is to say about that, that's all I'm going to say. Pick one marketing channel and get good at it. There's a million different options on what you could do. You need to pick one. And finally, the last, I said there were 5 ones. There's only 4 spots here. The 5th one is on top. Okay. So the 4th one, the last one that's on the bottom here, the last super important one on the bottom, one sales process. One sales process. Why? Because if you have a million different ways that people come to you, and they all are channeled differently. Some of them you have Zoom calls with, some of them you have phone calls with, some of them you get lunch with, some of them are 1 call closes, some of them are 2 call closes, some of them follow script A, some of them follow script B, some of them follow no script, some of them you just meet them and you say, yeah, I'll take your money. If you have all these different mechanics, then you have no idea what's working and what isn't. And so you can't get better at sales when you have so many different split sales processes. So a sales process is not just the script. It's the process. It's the entire experience they have. It's the follow-up. It's how you do the calls. Everything in that is your sales process. And having one sales process allows you to refine it. You can notice, if you notice, I have a lot of people showing up to the sales call and a very low close rate on the sales call, then you can start examining and say, okay, well, do we tweak our script or do we start limiting those who get on the sales call? Do we need a better pre-qualification process, right? But you don't get to say that and you don't get to test that and tweak that and see what happens if you don't have one clear sales process. So all of these things are one because if you split them, it becomes almost impossible to win, especially when you're on your own, especially when you're starting out. So you start with one target market, one offer, one marketing channel, one sales process. That's what focus means. Follow one course until success. This is the one course. And the last element is a hedging against shiny object syndrome, hedging against squirrel syndrome, hedging against how squirrely and sporadic entrepreneurs are. It's a hedging function. The last one is a hedging function, and it's actually the most important part of all of these. You figure all of these out, what these are, you refine and you improve over time. That's why you take time on these, but you refine and you improve over the course of a minimum of 1 year. For 1 year, you dedicate yourself to your target market, your offer, your marketing channel, and your sales process, with the only changes being refinement, getting better. And then your odds of success go up astronomically. They're still small because success in business is a very unlikely endeavor, but they go up astronomically. As soon as you start putting focus on this, your odds of success are virtually zero. At least that's been my experience, and that's been the experience of my clients. I've helped a lot of businesses succeed over the last decade, and with every single one of them that's done incredibly well, it's been because they have focused. And with every single one of them that has floundered, it's been because despite my best efforts, I haven't been able to get them to focus. If you want to succeed in 2025, 2026, and beyond, step 1 is to get focused. What I have for you guys today, I'll see you in a future training.